Alrighty, today is an interesting day. It's a little bit of a different video. It seems like I'm saying that a lot now. A different video, something a little different, but today really is. As you can probably tell by the title, we are talking about the Ultimate Fighting Champion. And yeah, no, I'm excited. We're going to be breaking down the fights. I know I'm looking here at the full fight thing, full fight card. And I'm talking about the main card, because there's the early preliminary card for ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass, and then preliminary card for ESPN plus ESPN Plus. But we're talking about the main card. So first of all, I want to go into the Thiago Santos versus Alexander Raykich fight. What I'll be doing is I'll be talking a little bit about, basically I'll be going through the fighter's resume, what they're capable of, what their record, all sorts of stuff like that, and then I'll be doing some little notes, some predictions on how I believe the fight is going to go. So without further ado, let's get into fight number one. So for fight number one, we have Thiago Santos versus Alexander Reikich. I think I pronounced those fighters' names correctly. Yeah, let's first go into Thiago Santos. So Thiago Santos is 6 feet 2 inches tall with a 76-inch reach. He is currently ranked number 2 in the light heavyweight division. He is trained in capoeira. He's got a great standing game. If you watch any of this guy's highlights on his feet, where he's like, sorry, the whole fight's pretty much on his feet. When he gets you to the ground, that's a different situation. But when he's got incredible heavy punching and kicking power, that classic capoeira. He currently holds a professional record of 21 wins, 8 losses, 15 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 5 by decision. Yeah, Thiago Santos he's a very good fighter. If you just look up like any of these fighters I'm talking about, Thiago Santos highlight reel, his standing game is incredible. Like, his nickname is the Sledgehammer. He's got a giant sledgehammer tattoo in the middle of his chest, and like his heavy punches. He did lose his last 2 fights, and his last fight was against the number 1 light heavyweight contender, Glover Teixeira. And even though Glover won, it was like a submission win. Glover said in his post-fight little interview, he's like, I understand why they call him the Sledgehammer, because he punches like a sledgehammer. And honestly, it's going to be an interesting fight. I'll get to the fight notes in a little bit, but let's go to Alexander Reikich. Alexander is 6 foot 4 inches tall with a 78-inch reach. He's currently ranked number 4 in the light heavyweight division. He is trained in kickboxing. His standing game as well is very good. So I think it's going to be a good match for Thiago Santos. Yeah, all these fights are really good, but this first one, it's going to be. It's just going to be good. He's got very strong leg kicks. Like, if you watch when he kicks and then his heavy punches, like all his like opponents go flying, or like if they don't go flying, they're not too sure where they are after he's punched them or he's kicked them. He currently holds a professional record of 13 wins, 2 losses, 9 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 3 by decision. So if you just look here, like, obviously Thiago Santos has more fighting experience. He's got way more fights. What is that? 29. He's got 29 fights under his belt, while Alexander, where am I looking, has only 15. But if you look here, it's 15 wins by knockout for Tiago, 9 wins by knockout for Alexander. That just goes back to what I'm saying about heavy punches, great standing game. So I think it'll be interesting. In physicality, Thiago Santos is huge. Like, he's a lot bigger. Like, he's a big guy. He's a very big guy compared to Alexander Raykich. But Alexander is very muscular. He does have that 2-inch height advantage, and then just a 2-inch reach advantage. But still, good fight. All right, so let's get into the fight notes. So I believe that this will be a mostly standing fight, and that both fighters are going to rely more on their standing game rather than try and take the fight to the ground. I think that this will be a very aggressive and bloody fight. with a lot of back and forth with kicks and punches. You know, Thiago Santos, capoeira, and he's just a ridiculously heavy puncher. And Alexander Raykich is he's a trained kickboxer. One thing I actually found about Alexander on his Wikipedia, apparently, like, you can look it up later if you like, but apparently he was like a very violent kid. If I remember correctly, he was like a very violent kid growing up, and he just like had like a lot of aggression. So yeah. No, I hope I'm getting that right. I'm pretty sure I am. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be an interesting match for Thiago Santos. All right, so I'm going to state the obvious here. I don't think that this fight's going to end in a submission. I don't think either fighters are going to allow this. Like, both of them right here, both these guys have only one submission win. And I don't know, it's probably like rear naked choke rear naked or something like that, rear naked choke or something like that. But I don't think it's going to. I don't think either fighters want this to go to the ground. I think it's going to end in a TKO or a KO. I believe because both these fighters rely on like a lot of the same techniques. This fight will go the distance. I think this fight's a 3-round fight. I think the first 2 fights are 3-round fights. Yeah, I think this one will go the distance. It will go that 3 rounds, 3 rounds or 4 rounds or 5 rounds. Yeah, I do see this fight going the distance, and yeah, I like, basically what I'm saying is it will not. Like, I could be completely wrong here. About all my predictions, I could be completely wrong. But I do not see this fight going into a submission win based off of previous track record for both of these fighters. I see this fight going into a KO or TKO or judge's decision. Yeah, I honestly, based off both these guys' track records, 15 KO wins, 9 KO wins. I see KO/TKO. I see this fight going actually into. Now I say it. I see this fight going into judge's decision. Although I do believe that Alexander will be a big challenge for Tiago, I do believe that Tiago will win. My reasoning for that is because Tiago's won 3 of his last 5 fights by either KO or TKO. Tiago also has 14 more fights worth of experience than Alexander, but I still do believe that it'll be a very close fight. Like, yes, Tiago has lost his last 2 fights. One was by decision, and then the last one was by submission from Glover Teixeira. But you know, 14 more fights is a lot more experience. It's just that whole fighter IQ and all that they talk about. I do believe that. Yeah, I can honestly see this fight going more to a judge's decision than like a KO or a TKO. So I do believe that, you know, Tiago's smart. Both fighters are smart. I don't want to take anything away from Alexander's fighter IQ, but Tiago is smart. He's won a lot. He's won a lot of fights. So I honestly do believe that he's going to move in and out, and he's going to get those big heavy punches that's going to slow down. I do think it'll go the distance. The fight will go the distance, but Tiago's got those big heavy punches that I do believe will slow down Alexander and will allow for more opportunity for Tiago to just light him up with more punches, more kicks. Again, don't see this fight going to the ground. Only way I see this fight going to the ground is if it turns into like a TKO, a TKO situation. I don't see this being a grappling match, a wrestling match. I mean, there might be some little scuttles up against the cage, but I don't see this being like a grappling match per se. So I believe either late 3rd round KO or TKO for Tiago, or judge's decision. Alright, next up, we got a fight that I'm actually really excited about. I'm excited about the whole thing, but I'm actually really excited about this next fight because I got into really got into UFC after Khabib retired. So yeah, this next one is Islam Makhachev, I believe I'm saying that right, versus Drew Dauber. The reason why I mentioned the Khabib thing is that Islam and Khabib are like best friends. They've like grown up and trained together, all like their whole lives. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But let's go through Islam's resume. Islam is 5 foot 10 inches tall with a 70.5-inch reach. He is currently ranked number 14 in the lightweight division. He is trained in combat sambo, like Khabib as well. Incredible standing game, as well as a perfect ground wrestling technique. He's got very heavy punches with a dangerous left hook. Who was that guy? It was a few years ago. Can't remember, but it was like 47 seconds into the first round that Islam he like one punched him, like a left hook. It was crazy. Yeah, so he holds a professional record of 18 wins and 1 loss. I believe the loss was like in 2015 or 14 or something. It was a while ago. Like it wasn't like a recent loss, you know. He has 3 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, and 8 by decision. Let's get into Drew Dauber. Drew Dauber is a little bit shorter. He's 5 foot 8 inches tall with a 70-inch reach. He is currently unranked, trained in Muay Thai, wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he's a well-versed guy. Incredible standing game with excellent takedown defense skills. I'll get into that when I get to the fight notes. He's got heavy punches also he has a solid left hook, like Islam does. He holds a professional record of 23 wins, 9 losses. He has 10 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, and 7 by decision. Alright, let's get into the fight notes. I believe that a majority of the first half of the fight will be a mix of kicks and punches. I believe this is also a 3-round fight. Yeah, I believe that it will be a little bit of, you know, Drew Dauber doing, like, I'll just say the first names. Drew doing his Muay Thai thing and Islam doing his, you know, sambo. You know, it'll be kicks, punches, kicks, punches. And I know I have this later on in my notes, later on in my notes I'll mention this, but I do think there's going to come to a point where it turns into a bit of a grappling match. I'll get to that in a second. Both fighters have a really strong one-punch power and strong jaws. Most of us probably have never heard of Drew Dauber. I haven't. I mean, again, I'm relatively new to being serious about UFC, but I had never heard of Drew Dauber before. If you look at his chin, that thing's insane. That's a real chin. Very strong too. I believe that in the second half of the fight, Islam will begin to get tired and begin to start shooting his takedowns, and Drew will start using his defense takedown skills. You know, Islam, like I don't know, I didn't mention this before, but Islam is he's a very good wrestler. He's from, you know, Dagestan, those Dagestan wrestlers. He has grown up and trained with Khabib all his life. That matters. Is Islam Makhachev Khabib Nurmagomedov? No, he's not. But it you know, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but when they say like surround yourself with the people you kind of want to be, or you know, stuff like that. Khabib, in the world of fighting, is a great influence. So, you know, he trained with Khabib and Khabib's father, and you know that's gonna, I think that level of training, you know, that level of training's obviously done something. He's got 18 and 1. I mean, yeah, he has that 1 loss, but that was like 7 years ago or something like that. So he's a good fighter. He's got what? He's got 3 wins by KO, 7 by submission, and then, you know, 8 by decision. So I can see this fight, you know, I can kind of see, like, although he's a strong fighter, I can see Drew Dauber weakening him up a bit. Like, you know, he's a solid dude. Like, he's got, you know, really good power. So I can see these guys going back and forth a little bit. And then once they start getting, like, I do see this fight going the distance. Then once it gets towards the end of the fight, maybe second half of the fight, honestly, somewhere in the middle of the second round, later half of the second round, I see Islam Makhachev just shooting those takedowns over and over again. I could see this fight ending up in a split decision win for Islam, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Drew pulls it off. I don't know, I just, like, yes, I know Drew is, like, unranked and blah, blah, blah. Just because you're unranked doesn't mean you're a bad fighter. So, you know, I watched Drew's highlight reel, and he's really good. Like, he's a good fighter. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a split decision win for either. I couldn't see this being like a unanimous, like if it goes the distance and all that, I don't see it being like a unanimous decision win for honestly either fighter. So I think it's either going to be, you know, I could see it being a potential submission win, maybe, for Islam. But again, I see this fight going because of the way both guys are built, I don't see it being a TKO situation. I think that's off the cards for this fight. I see this being either a submission win. I'm not too sure when in the fight. It'll probably be in the second half of the fight, probably not the first. I think, yeah, it will be in the second half. It'll be in the second half, and if it goes the distance, like, if it's a submission, it'll be in the second half of the fight. And if it goes the distance, it's not going to be a unanimous decision win for either guys. It's going to be a split. I believe it will be a split decision win. I do think Drew needs to be careful as he defends Islam's takedowns, because Islam has a tendency to submit his opponents in an armbar. So I was looking through his Wikipedia as I was typing these out yesterday. I was looking through the Wikipedia of just, you know, the fights and all that all the fighters have done, but I'm talking about Islam right now. When he's done these submissions, he's got 7 submissions here. Only a few were not done by an armbar. So I think Drew needs to be careful that if the fight goes to the ground, he needs to be careful. He needs to, you know, obviously he needs to be careful and pay attention, but he needs to not be careless in which positions he's putting his arm. Now, I don't know lots about wrestling, but I know you need to be, you know, careful, because, you know, you don't want to. Drew needs to be careful that he doesn't set up a submission win for Islam by an armbar. He needs to be careful. He just needs to rely on not taking the fight to the ground, because Islam is a professional Dagestani wrestler trained with Khabib. We all know Khabib's wrestling skills. So that's basically it for this fight. I see it either being a late, like a second half win, submission win for Islam, or a split decision win for either guy. I mean, based off of Islam's record, wouldn't be surprised if he pulled it off. Anyways, I want to get into the next fight, because the next fight, it's a good one. Alright, next fight, it's this. Now we've moved into the title fights. There's 3 title fights on Saturday night, so UFC 259's no joke here, folks. We have Peter Yan versus Jamaine Sterling. Peter Yan, I don't know if that's how you completely pronounce his first name. I've heard it being pronounced both ways, but it doesn't matter. He is 5 foot 7.5 tall with a 67-inch reach. He is currently the bantamweight champion of the world. He is trained in boxing and Muay Thai. He has an incredible standing game that relies heavily on his boxing and his kicking, but primarily his boxing. I'm going to talk about fast hands. Peter Yan, fast hands. Very strong and effective lead right hook. That seems to, like, the fighters seem to be a little bit dazed and confused after the Peter's right hook. Like it seems to, once he lands a few of those good right hooks on you, it seems to be downhill for you very quickly. He holds a professional record of 15 wins, 1 loss. He has 7 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, 7 by decision. Alright, Jamaine Sterling, 5 foot 7 inches tall with a 71-inch reach, currently ranked #1 in the bantamweight division, trained in wrestling, very strong ground game that relies heavily on his wrestling training. Holds a professional record of 19 wins, 3 losses. He has 2 wins by knockout, 8 by submission, 9 by decision. Fight notes. Fairly back and forth kicks and punches in the early rounds. This is a 5-round fight. It's going to be interesting. I want to make one comment before I get into the rest of these notes here, because I got a few. The first time I ever heard this was Conor McGregor. He said this a few months ago, right before the Dustin Poirier #2 fight. He said styles make fights. Styles make fights. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I was like, what is that supposed to mean? You know, you got somebody who's into Muay Thai, you got somebody who's a wrestler. Oh, like this fight, you know? And it'll be interesting to just watch these two guys kind of do their thing. I want to make a comment. Jamaine Sterling has a very interesting fighting style. Jamaine will have a few unsuccessful takedown attempts in the early rounds, but then he'll go back to boxing because then he'll realize, oh, Peter Yan, great takedown defense. Peter will have good grappling takedown defenses to defend against Jamaine's takedown attempts, like I was just saying. I believe that Jamaine's punches and kicks won't weaken Peter. How do I say this? Russian fighters tend to be built different. They tend to be stockier. Like, when I say like more solid, I don't mean like fat. I mean they're just more solid, more compressed, more you punch them in the face a bunch of times, but they're still ready to go. That just seems to be, it doesn't even, because Russia's huge, it's all over Russia, you know, different types of people all over. It's all the same. Like they're all a stocky bunch. So I don't think, you know, Jamaine, he can box, right? He can box. He's got a very interesting, unorthodox boxing style, but the guy can still box. It's not like he can't. So I think when Jamaine throws his punches at Peter, I don't think it's going to weaken him as much as Jamaine would want them to. I predict that Peter will spend the early part of the fight weakening Jamaine with headshots. Watch the headshots, because, you know, Peter will go, he'll go in, go out, land a bunch of headshots, and good hooks on. Peter will land a bunch of good headshots on Jamaine, and I think that's going to stun Jamaine a bit. Jamaine will continue to go, but I think that it'll just watch Peter. He'll be good. In the second half of the fight, Jamaine will start getting desperate and start to rely more on shooting his takedowns. That tends to happen when a fighter will train, you know, a certain way. Like, he'll have his certain, fighter A will have a certain set of skills that he'll be grounded in. Let's take this example for wrestling. And fighter A will be going up against fighter B, and fighter B is a really good boxer, so fighter A is like, all right, I'm good at boxing, but I need to get a lot better. So I feel like in this regard, like, just on solely boxing, I feel like Peter will outbox Jamaine and cause Jamaine to get hurt. Like, Jamaine, I feel like, is going to take a lot of damage in the first half of the fight, and then when we start getting into the later rounds, you know, past that midpoint in the third round of the fight, I can see Jamaine starting to shoot more takedowns. I could see this fight. I could see this fight going the distance, but it's different. Like, let's just read what I had here. Let's read what I was thinking yesterday. I predict that Peter will win by TKO in either the 4th round or sometime before the halfway point in the 5th round. I could see this getting close to the end of the fight and then Peter winning by TKO. Like, okay, you know, if, you know, Aljamain holds in there and he you know, the fight goes the distance, okay, awesome, good, woohoo. But I could also see this, you know, Peter going, you know, Peter having Aljamain in a tricky spot, and Peter just going all gas, no brakes for the last, you know, I think he's like 5-minute rounds, last little bit of the fight. So or 3-minute rounds. Anyways, I mean, it does matter, but anyways, I see Peter just going beast mode and just wrapping it up before the end of the 5th round. I believe that Peter's only chance of winning is either... No, sorry, I believe that... Oh, I wrote this wrong here. I believe that Aljamain's only chance of winning is either by split decision or the incredibly unlikely submission. Split decision or the incredibly unlikely submission. Because of Peter Yan's takedown defense, I don't see Aljamain like being like completely successful in his takedowns. I see Peter, you know, weakening and stunning Aljamain more and more as the fight goes on through his boxing. Because, like, what I was thinking about this earlier, like, if this was just a boxing match, like, it's just a solely boxing match, boxing gloves, Peter would win. Peter would outbox him. And I don't see this fight, you know, back to MMA here, I don't see this fight getting to the point where it goes to the ground and Aljamain, you know, is able to set up a submission. You know, Peter's a strong dude. I mean, both guys are strong, right? But I see Peter just controlling this. He's good at controlling the rhythm and tempo of the fight, and I see Peter winning. I do see Peter winning, like how I said earlier, by like a late fight TKO situation, or by like a unanimous decision win towards the end. I want to make something clear here. I do want Aljamain to win. I don't have anything against either fighters. Well, I mean, not personally, but I mean, Peter, I like Jose Aldo. I'm a fan. I do think he's an interesting fighter. So, I mean, the reason kind of why I like Jose Aldo is because he got destroyed by Conor McGregor, and I'm a fan of Conor McGregor, and he is a part of the Conor McGregor, you know, legacy or whatever the heck you want to call it. So, you know, he's a part of that, even though Conor and Jose aren't friends. You know, I'm going to support Jose Aldo. Peter also beat the crap out of Uriah Faber, and I'm not too sure why. Sorry for the little cut, and sorry if I repeat something here. My camera, it told me that I was out of space, so let me just go back to what I remember I was saying. Yeah, Peter Yan beat up Uriah Faber. Not too sure why. I'm a fan of Uriah Faber. I don't really have any... I can't really explain. I mean, Uriah Faber is a good fighter. I don't know why. But, that being said, Peter Yan beat up Uriah Faber. Beat up Jose Aldo. So, I do want Aljamain to win. I do. I want him to, you know... he trains with Ally Quinta. I'm a fan of Ally Quinta. I mean, different divisions here, but yeah, I want Aljamain to win. I want him to have that belt around his waist, but based off of everything I've seen, and after I've done my little studies, I'm no expert here, but from what I've seen, I don't think that Aljamain will pull it off. I do think Peter will win. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm dead wrong. And, you know, Aljamain just gets it done. Submission win. I don't know. Arm bars him. Rear naked choke. The arc choke. I don't know. I just like saying that one. I don't know what he's going to do, but I hope Aljamain wins. One little thing here before we go into the Amanda Nunez fight. I saw a video of Peter talking about Aljamain's technique and how he sees the holes in it, like what he sees wrong in Aljamain's technique. And I think if Peter sees that, I think he'll take advantage of that. Peter's a very focused fighter. I'm not saying Aljamain's not focused either, but Peter, he wants to win. He's ready to kill. There's a reason his nickname is No Mercy. Peter No Mercy Jan. Let's see if Jermain Sterling, the Funk Master as they call him, let's see if let's see if he can pull it off. Hopefully he can Saturday night. He just lights Peter up. Let's go Jermain Sterling. It's the big fight. Amanda Nunez versus Megan Anderson. Forgot her last name for a second. This is going to be a big fight. I don't have a lot of notes on this fight because I think this is the fight we all know how it's going to go. I'll get to that in a second. If you're new to UFC, yeah. Anyways, let's get into the stats. Amanda Nunez is 5 foot 8 inches tall. She is currently the women's bantamweight and featherweight champion. She is trained in karate, judo, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She has incredibly heavy and accurate striking. She knows how to hit, where to hit. She's like a lot like Israel Adesanya, timed, calculated, just heavy punches. She's got great grappling skills thanks to the judo and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. She holds a professional record of 20 wins and 4 losses. She hasn't lost in years. I want to say 2014, 2015 maybe. I'm not too sure how it was. She has 13 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, and 4 by judge's decision. Megan Anderson, 6 feet tall. She is trained in Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She has excellent grappling skills and takedown defense. Again, very accurate striking. It's not Amanda Nunez accurate striking, but it's still very accurate, precise, calculated. She holds a professional record of 11 wins, 4 losses. She has 6 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 2 by judge's decision. I believe that because of Amanda's powerful striking ability, Megan will try and keep the fight on the ground as much as possible. I feel like there's no secret about Amanda Nunez's striking. Her last name's a little hard to pronounce for me to say it quickly, so I'm just going to call her Amanda. You know, it's no secret that Amanda is an incredible striker, incredibly accurate striker. We're talking about somebody who's beat up Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm. She knocked out Holly Holm in the first round. Chris Cyborg, like, you know, a bunch of these big name fighters. And I feel like Megan Anderson is going to either use her reach advantage because she's quite a bit taller than. Megan's going to use her reach advantage because she's quite a bit taller against Amanda, or she's going to try and make it a grappling match. I feel like when you fight Amanda Nunez, you know what you're getting into. Like, she's violent. She's a violent person in the ring. I'm not going to speak for her personal life, but she's violent. Don't get on her bad side before you go into the ring. or just don't get on her bad side. I think, you know, if you attacked her in real life, it's not getting well for you, buddy. Like, it's I'm sure Amanda Nunez is a great person, but she knows how to fight. She knows how to fight. I predict that the fight will end in Amanda being incredibly dominant, and she will overwhelm Megan very quickly with punches and winning the fight via TKO in the first half of the fight. I don't think it's going to you know, she's got 13 wins by knockout, 4 by decision. I think the last several wins were knockout. They weren't by decision or submission. So I think Amanda is just gonna get her done. She's gonna defend her title. I've heard stuff about Amanda. I mean, every fighter says this, but Amanda has made comments about retirement. I feel like, you know, she's, you know what, you know, honestly, I've been kind of thinking about this recently. It would not surprise me. Let's picture this here. Amanda just destroys Megan. Joe Rogan comes in, you know, with the microphone. Oh, you know, you won the fight. Oh, that's kind of how he talks. I could see Amanda saying, you know, thank you UFC, thank you Dana, thank you Joe, and just saying this is my last fight in the UFC and taking off her gloves and putting them on the ground. You know, a sign of retirement. I can see that happening. I can see that being a possibility. Will it happen? We'll find out Saturday night. But I think that the saying history tends to repeat itself is going to happen again Saturday night. I don't think Megan Anderson's going to win. I mean, you know, I'm Australian. Megan Anderson's Australian. Do I want her to win? I guess so. Patriotism, woohoo, I don't know. But, you know, I've never seen Amanda Nunez, like, fight live. Of course I've seen, like, you know, like, replays and highlights and stuff, but I've never seen it happen live, and I'm very excited. So, we're just going to watch, you know, we're going to watch Amanda Nunez just get it done. And I think, you know, if you are on the fence about buying the pay-per-view on Saturday night, I feel like, you know, even if you spent like the $60, $65 or whatever it is, just for the Amanda Nunez and Megan Anderson fight, I feel like it would be worth your money. So, like, I mean, stick around for the other fights, because they're going to be fun. They're going to be fun. Like, the next fight I'm going to talk about, Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya, that's going to be a party. That's going to be fun. The Jan versus Sterling fight, that'll be great. It's going to be the three, like, I don't know what the correct term is, like the three, well, I'll just say the 3 title fights. The 3 title fights are going to be fun. Like, those are going to be fun fights. I think the most predictable, I mean, let's be honest, I had a lot to say about the Peter Yan versus Jamaine Sterling fight. I had a lot to say about that. But I think the most predictable is Amanda Nunez versus Megan Anderson. I'm about to get into the Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya fight, but I think we can make our predictions based off of fighting style about, you know, about any fight, but especially Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. But I feel like I don't feel like it's going to be the fight that we think it's going to be. Anyways, seeing I've already kind of moved into talking about that fight, let's go. Let's start talking about Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. All right, the main event of the evening. Jan Blachowicz's first title defense. Here we go. The, you know, last style bender, Israel Adesanya. This is gonna be such a big fight. It's gonna be this will be awesome. Like, this will, like, you know, everyone's like, oh wow, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's a great fighter, not taking that away from him. Dustin Poirier, great fighter, not taking that away from him. That was kind of a boring fight, to be honest with you. My personal opinion, the Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns fight, it was a yawn fest, man. I like, just natural acting. I just yawned. Like, seriously, I just yawned even just talking about that fight. That was so boring, that fight. Probably people who are going to disagree with that, but this fight's going to be something special. It's going to be Polish power versus the last style bender weaving in and out. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about it too much. Let's get in to the resumes. Jan Blachowicz, 6 foot, 2 inches tall with a 78-inch reach. Currently the light heavyweight champion. Trained in judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Incredible standing game with a strong kickboxing style. Now, I'm going to be honest, I got this stuff off, you know, Wikipedia's stuff I could find, observing their highlight reels, you know. What I found is that he's trained in Judo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but, you know, if you look at his fights, he's got a very classic, you know, kickboxing, you know, mixed martial arts kind of style. Those kicks, if you watch, I'm going to get back into what I'm talking about here, but before the fight on Saturday, watch Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes, the fight where Jan won his title. Just look at the side of Dominic Reyes, the imprint that Jan's foot made on the ribs of Dominic Reyes. Jan, he's got heavy punches with the good one-punch power. My lights would be knocked out if he punched me, that's for sure. Strong left hook seems to be a common theme with fighters. Very strong, very, very strong left hook. That's, you know, where that Polish power. I even saw something with Jan where he's talking about that. He's talking about, you know, my left hook, my Polish power. I almost started impersonating his accent. Not going to do that. He has a professional record of 27 wins, 8 losses. He's been on a little bit of a good streak recently. He has 8 wins by knockout, 9 by submission, 10 by decision. Well, I never even realized that. I mean, I typed this last night, but I didn't even like clue on a 9 by submission. That's pretty good. Let's go to Israel Adesanya. 6'4" tall with an 80-inch reach. He is the current middleweight champion, trained in kickboxing, wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got an incredible standing game. We all know that last style bend of precision. You know, he's perfect kickboxing. Doesn't he have like a perfect kickboxing record when he was a professional kickboxer? Like, his kickboxing style, is watching his fights, the thing of beauty. I mean, what, like, his MMA fights but his kickboxing fights, craziness. That guy can fight. That guy can really fight. Perfect, precise, heavy punches. It's just precise. Like, if he's going to punch you in the nose, he's going to punch you in the nose. He's going to punch you in the left cheek, he's going to perfectly punch you in the left cheek. In the jaw, perfectly centered. Like, he'll name a body part. He'll name a place on your body, and he'll say, "I'm going to punch you there," and he'll punch you there perfectly. He holds a professional record of 20 wins, no losses. The guy's undefeated. I'm an Israel Adesanya fan. Hopefully, the 0 losses doesn't go to 1 loss. He's got 20 wins, 0 losses. That's 2 zeros. The 0 and 20. I want there to be. I don't know if you can see this. Actually, never mind. I want there to be a 1. I want there to be a 1 right here, but I want it to be the 21, not the 1 loss. He has 15 wins by knockout, 5 by decision. I heard something in an interview with him not too long ago where he says he wants to get a submission win. I think everyone's unless you're Dominic Reyes' mom, you're a fan of Israel Adesanya. People like the guy. You know, Joe Rogan freaking loves that dude. You know, I'm a big fan. All my friends, big fans of Israel. All my friends who know, like who are in the know, they're all fans of Israel Adesanya. You know, I want to see him get a submission win. It's not going to happen in this fight. I'll tell you right now. How do I say this? I think go back to what I think I was saying about Peter Yan, just kind of being more compressed. Like, Yan is more compressed. He's a compressed fighter. He's a compressed person. He will. I mean, on Saturday, Israel and Yan will weigh 205 pounds. They will both weigh the exact same. But Yan will still look bigger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just bigger bone. He's a bigger, stockier human being. Let's get into the fight notes. I believe that this fight will be a lot of Yan trying to land big power punches and kicks, and Israel trying to pick Yan apart with kicks to the legs and punches to the head. Because you know, you see a lot of fighters like who are like trigger happy and they just want to boom, 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 boom. Like, Israel does the boom, boom, boom. You know, like he's kind of like a, what's something like he's like a lion or something. Like he will attack when it's the right time. He's not just gonna go crazy, you know, for no reason. He's not gonna go crazy. He'll go crazy at the right time. He's not gonna go crazy at the wrong time, right? You know, you look at the Anderson Silva fight. I'm thinking of, you know, the Israel Adesanya versus Anderson Silva fight. Like, there was tons of times where, you know, Anderson Silva was just standing there like, okay, you want a piece of me? Like, come get me. And Israel could have easily gone, okay, and just gone crazy, and Anderson Silva could have made a quick reply. But, you know, Israel Adesanya didn't do that. He knew the game. Like we talk about fighter IQ. Israel Adesanya's fighter IQ is so high. It's like 1 million. Okay, maybe not 1 million, but it's up there for sure. I don't think that Israel Adesanya is going to think smart in this fight, and he's not going to put himself in a position where, you know, we're not going to see Israel Adesanya. Well, I mean, we might, but I doubt we're going to see Israel Adesanya against the cage like this, just, you know, while Jan is just wailing on Izzy. I think we're going to see a lot of leg kicks like we saw in the Poirier-McGregor fight. I think that is going to just be a common theme. I mean, I'm going to get to it a little bit more later on. But yeah, let's get to the next note because I'm going to talk about leg kicks a little bit later. Because of Israel's ability to quickly get himself out of tight, dangerous situations, I think that Israel will spend the fight trying to draw Jan out while slowly picking him apart. So I think it's going to be a lot of Jan trying to do the Polish power. You know, he's going to try and big left hook. And Israel's going to quickly, he's going to be dodging it out. And Israel's going to take advantage of it. I don't think that Israel will allow this fight to go to the ground at all because Jan is so big and will use his weight to be dominant on the ground. We look here, 9 submission wins by Jan. While we look at that number, and we look at the 9, and we look at Jan's size, his denseness. He's more compressed. It would be not a smart decision for Israel to take the fight to the ground. Yes, he's got the Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all that, but you know, so does Jan. So I don't think it's a smart idea for this fight, for Israel to allow the fight to go to the ground. I think that Israel is going to take advantage of the fact that Jan tends to be quite heavy on his lead leg and will be slowly chipping away at it with kicks. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I was saying going back to the kicks. Because Jan is a big guy, if you look at some of his, now again, I'm no expert, but one thing I kind of noticed about his fighting is that he's got big legs, right? And he tends to, I mean, I guess it's a common thing of a lot of fighters, but he tends to be very heavy. Tends to pick a stance, pick his lead leg, and be heavy on it, right? And you can lean forward and he's heavy on his leg. He'll pick a leg and he'll be heavy on it, right? He'll be heavy on his front leg, front lead leg. And I feel like Israel will see that, right? And we go back to the Paulo Costa fight, Israel's last fight. And Paulo Costa, it just came out last night or the day before that Paulo was drinking a little bit the night before the fight. I didn't want to have to make that joke, but here we are. The whole internet, the whole UFC universe is making jokes about that. Yeah, I think, you know, Israel was chipping away at Paulo's lead leg, and I feel like he's going to do that again for this fight. I feel like, you know, Israel's going to be looking at, you know, where that leg is, that lead leg is, and he's going to chip away. He's going to chip away at it. and we'll see what happens. But yeah, on to the next point. Because both fighters are very tough, I see this fight either going to a decision or a TKO win for Israel. Either way, I do not see this fight being a quick and easy night at the office for either fighter. I just put that last one in there for fun. But both fighters are very tough. Jan is a more... I'm trying to figure out a word for this, but he's a more dense guy, right? Those Eastern European guys just seem to be more dense, you know? And I see this fight not like with Jan's big power. I'm a big guy, got crazy skills in his, got crazy skills versus Adesanya's. I don't allow myself, Israel Adesanya's. I don't allow myself to be in dangerous situations. I can get out of here, when I need to. You can kick, well, I can kick too. My fighter IQ is 100 billion. Okay, that was, but like you take the precision. Like Israel Adesanya is also his precision as well. You take all of those things about Israel Adesanya, and you take all the things about Jan Blachowicz. His skill. You take that, and we go back to a few months ago when McGregor was saying, styles make fights. I don't see this just being like, bang, 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 out. Like, there's always just that, that perfectly timed shot, like the Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo fight. Like, Conor, he knew what he was doing, timed it, 14 seconds, Jose's out, I mean, we could be wrong, of course. I mean, I don't think even you, UFC fan, that's you, yes, who is watching this, I don't even think you see this fight being a quick knockout. Both guys are tough, what's face? Israel Adesanya went 5 rounds with Kelvin Gastelum. Not an easy task. Like, Kelvin Gastelum is... maybe I shouldn't say that. He's not... I'll let you guys in the comments decide. Is Kelvin Gastelum, not in terms of skill, is Kelvin Gastelum like the middleweight, like in terms of density, his thick, like his body thickness, his compactness, is he the middleweight version of Jan? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I could see this fight going the distance. I don't know. I haven't seen any of I don't think this is going to be like a huge trash talking fight and they're just going to get into each other's heads. I see this being gentlemanly, about skill. Jan seems like a really nice guy. Israel seems like a nice guy. I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying he seems... Anyways, we're not going to talk about their niceness. But I see this fight being very interesting. I see Israel Adesanya timing his shots perfectly. I see Israel Adesanya actually being in situations that could easily turn into dangerous situations, but I see Israel getting himself out of it. I see Israel taking maybe a couple big hits, but being able to come out on top in those situations. I can foresee a moment in the fight, maybe towards the middle second half, where Jan is a little bit, a little spaced out, because I do believe that Israel's going to deliver some very, very, very precise punches to the head and some good kicks to the legs. Yeah. Anyways, because I don't have too much more time left on the grand old memory card, please let me know what you think about my predictions Am I ridiculously so far from being close? Am I just so wrong? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm not going to post a recap video. I think maybe in the comments section I'll maybe post a little essay on my thoughts for the fight. Maybe not an essay, but just a lengthier paragraph on my thoughts about the fight. Please, let's. I want to hear what you guys have to say about UFC 259. I think this is something I'm going to start doing. UFC 260 later this month. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2, the rematch. I think UFC 259, as they say, it's going to be a movie. I hated how that sounded. Not saying that again, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun fight. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And yeah, guys. I till next time. I'm sorry. I'm just excited. Anyways, let's make it official. All right. Till next time. Goodbye.